After years of reading A Course in Miracles, there's one statement that drove me crazy, and for years I read it over and over again, and I didn't quite understand it. And right now, it's really coming to me strongly. And it basically is in Chapter 2, Section 7, Cause and Effect. Now, I'm going to read the couple of statements that lead up to the statement that drove me crazy for years because I couldn't quite understand it. So the section begins with this. You may still complain about fear, but you nonetheless persist in making yourself fearful. I have already indicated that you cannot ask me to release you from fear. See, this is the sentence that drove me crazy. If we're in fear and we're praying, why can't we pray to get rid of our fear? And Jesus is beautiful here because he explains exactly what's going on. He goes on to say, I know it does not exist, which is fear. So Jesus knows fear does not exist, but you do not. If I intervened between your thoughts and their results, I would be tampering with a basic law of cause and effect, the most fundamental law there is. So in the past, whenever I read that statement, I just sort of blew past it instead of really breaking it down and looking at it. So he's suggesting that if he were to take the fear away, he'd be intervening between the law of my thoughts and their results. So it sounds like there's a relationship between my thoughts and fear. And then he says he'd be tampering with the basic law of cause and effect. So it sounds like my thoughts have something to do with the basic law of cause and effect here. And he says it's the most fundamental law there is, and by fundamental, what he's saying is that it's the basis for seemingly everything. It's the very basis of it. So somehow, some way, he's saying my thoughts are creating this fear. And so he can't, if he were to take my fear away, I'd still be making the thoughts that made the fear. So what would be the point to that? So what I really need to do is I really need to look at my thoughts and understand exactly how it is my thoughts are creating this fear. So then Jesus goes on to say, I would hardly help you if I depreciated the power of your own thinking. This would be in direct opposition to the purpose of this course. So the purpose of the course, it's called A Course in Miracles. The purpose of the course is to get us into a state of mind, or the reader, or me, into a state of mind where I'm able to allow Jesus to perform miracles through me. And so he's trying to show me my power, the power of my thoughts, and he's trying to show how unless I get my thoughts in order, I can't be of any use to him in performing miracles. So in the next statement he says, it is much more helpful to remind you that you do not guard your thoughts carefully enough. So what am I guarding my thoughts about? He explains this a little further on.
Mm-hmm. The way we think.
The way we think. So
Right.
somehow we're allowing thoughts to come through our mind that are creating an effect that we don't like, and we're blaming the effect, and we're not catching that the thought is the cause of this effect.
That's right. Right.
So he's not saying stop your thoughts. He's saying guard your thoughts. That's a different thing. So we have to pay attention to our thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus said, do not ask me to release you from fear.
That's right. Because he can't do that.
No, right. Because his intervention then would make it more real.
Right, I never thought of it that way.
Right.
Because he knows it's not real.
Because he knows it's not real. So he's leaving it up to you to see what you yourself are creating.
Mm-hmm.
And then take the responsibility of seeing how you created the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the reason we are saying this is because we get so many letters. And 90% of them are all based on fear. How do I get rid of this fear? It's driving me crazy. You cannot get rid of it because you are constantly recreating it.
Right. Like, for example, if you say you're afraid of your neighbor, you would realize, if you really paid attention, you would see the fear of your neighbor, for instance, is caused by your attack thoughts against your neighbor.
Yes.
So when Jesus says we need to guard our thoughts, because we don't actually we don't have a conscious knowledge of authoring of thoughts, the thoughts just seem to appear. But when a thought like that comes, oh, my neighbor doesn't like me, or oh, my neighbor is inconsiderate, we really need to stop, pay attention to that thought and say, is it true or not? And that's how we guard them. And the more we catch them, the more they go away. And now there's no fear. Now we love the neighbor instead of being afraid of him. I mean, that's just a very simple example.
So Jesus said, you cannot ask me to release you from fear.
Incredible.
Yeah. But to look at it yourself. This is something that you can read yourself on.
It's chapter 2 of the text, section 7, called Cause and Effect.
Cause and Effect, yes. Yeah. And we wish you all the luck with this.
Thanks, and we'll expand more on fear another time.
Yeah.